We have now come to our last award for the evening, the Sony Impact Award for Current Affairs. First up is French duo Martin Baudois and Mathias Denisot. In this film, they combined investigative journalism and science in a story about the soybean industry in Paraguay, highlighting how harmful pesticides impact local communities. Take a look.
A green ocean. This is how soybean fields look like in Paraguay from above. A beautiful landscape. If only it weren't toxic. Paraguay reveals the workings of the world. To make room for its fields, the soybean industry kills the forests. That comes along with the application of pesticides that poison surrounding inhabitants. In Paraguay, families decided to take action against this situation, pointing out the impact of pesticides on their health. But they are desperately short of evidence.
Cuando nosotros denunciamos así públicamente lo que ellos nos exige el estudio científico, para el Paraguay significa una maldición ya.
What exactly are those chemicals that poison villages in the region? To find out, we need to trace the sprayings. We must be as discreet as possible. We are on private properties, and soybean producers are not reputed as good hosts.
On va juste regarder ce qu'il y a comme... ce qu'ils utilisent comme produit. Du dincoseb, un fongicide.
Mancozeb, a molecule that is toxic for reproduction.
Il va à gauche ou pas?
Thanks to the tank, we've already spotted 3 categories of pesticides used on these soybean crops. But to identify all the chemicals and their concentration, we need samples. As we move away to shoot a few more images, the sprayer comes to us. Focused on the drone, I don't realize that his spraying arms cover the path where I'm squatting. This is when I quit piloting the drone to find shelter.
Ça prend la gorge de ouf. Ah, ça pique les yeux.
To try and tackle this situation, we are here in Asunción, the capital. We meet scientists to set up a study. We want to measure the impact of pesticides on the DNA of San Juan's inhabitants. We are going to collect DNA samples from the kids who live nearby spraying areas in order to measure potential genetic damage. This is Professor Segovia, who advised us on the protocol. The professor and his crew have to analyze 200 cells per child to calculate an average of genetic damage for each of them. After several weeks of investigation on this green miracle, this is D-Day.
Gracias. Hola, Martín.
We meet again with Dr. Stella. She has just received the results of the COMET assays operated by the lab on the village children's samples.
Este es el resultado que para mí fue una sorpresa. Esto yo anoche estuve descubriendo, no antes. 45.9% de su ADN está fuera del núcleo.
San Juan villagers are tired of waiting for the state to take responsibility. They want to act right now in the heart of the capital and question the Paraguayan authorities. With another 300 farmers from all over the country, Sonia has come to protest against the fumigaciones, the pesticide sprayings, and for the respect of farmers' rights.
The first thing about this that made it stand out was it was absolutely superb camera work. But if we think about the criterion of endeavour, these stories about poisoning are always really difficult to tell. Well, this team took this head on and just said, well, let's get the science done as much as they could. And let's use that science as the basis to hang our film off.
What's difficult about this kind of film is proving the link between children's and people's health problems and the pesticides, surprisingly difficult because people get ill anyway and they have birth defects. So the journalism here was really thorough, really convincing, and it was very impressive that they commissioned a study on this scale, which delivered some really important information, and it actually went all the way to Parliament, so in terms of impact, this really delivered.
I like the way that they worked with the community, got the evidence, then presented the evidence and made us to be aware and close to that. So we even from kind of abroad, from Europe, you can see what is happening there, what the people are going through, what this will result in your own environment.
With Martin and Matthias, what stood out for me was the fact that they had taken a very difficult subject, pesticides and the potential damage to humans, and managed to bring it to life in a way that many journalists struggle. It can be really difficult to even get something like that commissioned because of the legal implications of trying to make a link between the chemical and the farmer and the person who's developed a disease. So he thought that through really clearly. He's got a whole series of programs in which he's applied his vision for how a journalist can cover an environmental story, and he's done it very successfully.
That certainly brings new meaning to the phrase filming in the field. Lovely francophone touch of action directe as well there. Powerful and challenging material from Martin and Matthias. Our second finalist in this last category is Matthew Castle and his film The Missing. Matthew has taken a subject that, to some extent, I'm sure we're all familiar with, that of the plight of refugees. But he's told it in a totally new way through the stories of the missing refugees and their families. The judges commented on the dignity and respect which Matthew handled the stories, and his beautiful camera work combined with this empathetic approach to make a truly remarkable collection of stories. Let's see a clip.
It's been 6 years since Karina last saw her son, Hector Eduardo. He disappeared shortly after leaving Honduras, hoping to reach the United States. Hector's father, Enrique, is painfully aware of the difficulties in raising a son in Honduras.
Y yo estaba sentado, yo no miraba las horas, sentado ahí con él en la cama, ahí en su cuarto, explicándole las cosas de la vida. Porque no quiero, yo lo que buscaba es que no se me fuera a salir pues de las manos. Y se nos derrumbó.
Amid a worsening economy and increasing violence, Hector, like many Hondurans, left home in search of a future in the U.S. Not long after Hector's disappearance, Corina joined a group called COFAMIPRO, whose mission is to locate Honduran migrants and reunite them with their families. Through their activism, the mothers find strength to continue the search for their loved ones. The group hosts a weekly radio program to increase awareness around the issue and inform potential migrants about the risks they might face. But each year, the women of COFAMIPRO embark on a caravan to search for the missing. The trip can be dangerous, as they search in areas controlled by drug cartels, where many Central American migrants have been abused, forced into labor, and killed in recent years. It's been 3 years since Mohammed's family left home with the hope of reaching Germany. His wife and 6 of their relatives died on the way. 2 of his sons were never found. For more than 20 years, Mohammed has driven his motorcycle across Beirut to open his modest TV repair shop each morning. He worked hard his whole life, but it wasn't enough to sustain his family. They wanted to move to Europe, far away from the problems in Lebanon. Mohammed's son, Malek, was diagnosed with diabetes and autism at a young age. Raising a child with one disability isn't easy in Lebanon. Raising a child with 2 can be impossible. Mohammed's wife had relatives in Germany. 3 times they applied for visas to join them. 3 times they were denied. In October 2015, during the peak of refugee arrivals to the Greek islands, Mohammed's family decided to join the flow of people. Mohammed's son Meher was one of those on board.
قعدنا شي 3 ساعات نحن بقلب المي وما في شيء طبيعي ولا خوفة ولا شيء ماشيين وما في شيء. اكتشفنا هون انه نحن عم تفوت فينا السفينة والشنطات عم يمصوا المي وثابت انه على حظنا ما تيسرت معنا وقعنا بقلب المي. بعد تقريبا للساعة شي 6 الظهر، يعني هاي بعد فيك تقولي بعد شي 6 ساعات سباحة واختفى صوت خيي. انا عيطت وما يسمعني وهو عيط لي ما اسمعه.
The bodies of the 7 relatives found at sea, which included 2 children, were brought back to Lebanon to be buried.
بس الوحيد انه هن ما التقوا، 2 ما التقوا. هيدا اللي بيخليك انت متأملي، بتقولي شي يوم من الايام بيلتقى واحد منهم ولا ما بيلتقى. كنا هيك متأملين، وهي القصة لها 3 سنين لحد هلا رح يصيروا، وبعدنا ناطرين هالامل اذا بيصير.
One of the things I love about Matthew's submission is that he had been to 5 different countries. So you could see that in certain countries he was able to build a really strong rapport with the people. In others he was able to really engage with the scenery and get some beautiful images. And it exposed him. There were times where it was harder for him to operate, and that came across in the film that he subsequently made. And then there was other times where he really engaged brilliantly with the subject, and that film was stronger.
What stayed with me was the emotion of the parents who are in a unique form of hell, not knowing what happened to their children. And their stories were told with incredible compassion, so much detail that they really stick in the viewer's mind, and it made it really stand out.
I sort of felt as though I'd seen those types of programs or interviews before, and yet I thought it was carried out with such perfection. It was beautifully, all of those interviews were beautifully carried out. And of all of the entries this year, those were the ones that really they got to me. And watching the father talk about his lost family and the brother talking about his lost brother in the missing in Lebanon just got me in floods of tears.
For our third and final finalist, we go back to Nicaragua. It is Rodrigo Vasquez with his film People and Power, Frontline Nicaragua. In April 2018, protests against pension reform plans in Nicaragua quickly mushroomed into a widespread anti-government movement. The country's Sandinista regime under President Daniel Ortega cracked down hard. Over the following year, hundreds were killed. Hundreds and thousands, were exiled or detained. Independent media voices were suppressed. Negotiations to resolve the crises got underway in early 2019, and Rodrigo spent a month reporting on the situation. He was really able to get inside this, and he brought this film.
Nicaragua, 2019. 40 years after an insurgency overthrew a US-supported dictatorship, Sandinista supporters gathered to pay homage to the man after whom their socialist revolution was named. Augusto Sandino, who was betrayed and killed in 1933 after defeating a US invasion. But in 1979, the movement he inspired fought and won a civil war, and current President Daniel Ortega came into power for the first time. Now, Ortega's administration is in an existential crisis of its own. Assailed by claims of savage repression, human rights abuses, and the alleged murder and disappearance of thousands of opponents, Nicaragua is once again under US sanctions. And once again, it's being called a police state. We've come to find out why. Luis Miguel Najarro was one of those who volunteered to fight for the revolution in its war against the US-financed guerrillas that bled the country for a decade. Luis Miguel has kept his old certificate of military service in his car since the recent troubles began. He's hoping it will prove his revolutionary credentials if he's stopped by the police. Another day, another car journey. This time, we were going undercover to find victims of the recent violence. We drove a few miles away from the capital to meet one of the student leaders still in hiding that the government wanted to arrest.
En las protestas de abril se cerraron las negociaciones y los estudiantes seguimos atrincherados en la universidad.
Paramilitaries loyal to Ortega surrounded the students, who set up barricades.
¡Mamá! ¡Mamá, perdóname! ¡Salí a defender mi patria! ¡Te amo!
The city of Masaya, 30 kilometers south of the capital, was the last protest stronghold to fall. On July 18, 2018, it was brutally retaken by paramilitary forces. 56 people were killed, many more sought refuge in local churches.
Los disparos siempre fueron en la frente, en el cuello o en el corazón. Allí inclusive llegaron paramilitares en motos y tomaron fotografías.
One of the refugees was a middle-class student of medicine who was badly beaten during her detention.
Digo yo, por favor no me golpeen que estoy embarazada. Aún sabiendo ellos que les dije eso, me hicieron hacer 25 sentadillas. Me desnudaron, me comenzaron a golpear con acas las piernas. Había sangre, entonces no. Es que eso sí fue horrible.
Rodrigo's piece, I thought, was very good because he has gone to a very difficult place, and particularly over here we don't hear much about what happened or what is happening in Nicaragua, and for that I think his piece is very commendable.
One of the things I loved most about Rodrigo's film is that he put the people who'd taken the most risk front and centre. Not just in his written submission, but in the film itself, you could see that certain people had really put themselves out, certain people were emotionally engaged and involved in this story, and he made sure that they got the opportunity to tell their story, and he also didn't steal their thunder. A lot of the time as a journalist, he was in a very dangerous position, but only because he was with them. They were in the real danger, and he never shied away from making sure that that was clear to the audience.
The thing that surprised me about this film was I didn't know about this, and I thought, well, Rodrigo's taking me to a story I should know about, and I didn't know a thing about it. And of course, you know, that's the job he does. You know, he takes us somewhere we've never been, something we don't understand, and he puts us right in the middle of it, and he makes us understand it, not just with our heads, but with our guts and our hearts. And I thought for that reason it was a wonderful film.
So there we have it, our 3 Sony Impact Award finalists. And to announce this year's winner, please welcome on stage the Head of Marketing, Sony Professional Solutions Europe, Stuart Almond. Stuart.
Thank you, and good evening, everybody. Freelance journalists operate on the front line of global news and current affairs. They uncover stories that help educate, inspire, and inform people worldwide. Their work changes perceptions, and their stories actually change lives. At Sony, we're proud to support the important work of the Rory Peck Trust. Together, we want to provide freelancers with solutions and services that empower them to carry out their important work. I'm honoured to be here tonight to celebrate the people who bring us incredible stories from the most unimaginable places. Without their talent, their bravery, and their passion, we would not see or understand the world as we do today. Thank you, finalists, for your hard work and contributions, which benefit us all. So now, I'm pleased to announce that the winner of the Sony Impact Award for Current Affairs is Martin Boudon and Matthias Denise.
Wow, I didn't expect that much people. Well, thank you so much. We're very honored. I'm very honored to be here tonight. It's such a prestigious prize. I don't have prompters. I don't really know what to say, but and you will excuse my French accent. I'd like to say that this award goes to the people in Paraguay that have helped us a lot. The Dr. Stella Benitez, that has been working for us, with us for quite some time, and also Sonia Acevedo, the mother of the children. They try to fight for the environment and the health, and this award goes to them as well as the 160 environmental activists that have died in 2018 because of their activism, because they're trying to save some part of the planet. So I'd like to congratulate them, and this award goes to them. For sure. I'd like to thank a few persons for sure. The first one are the producers that accept to do the story with us. On this one, we did spend a lot of money with the scientific studies, and they were not very used to that, but they followed us. So thank Luc Herman and Paul Morea from Première Ligne for that. I'd like to thank the French TV, French Public TV, the equivalent of the BBC, France Télévisions, Nathalie Darigran, who has believed in me, and I thank her, Anne Goro, and also Xavier Grimaud, who have followed me over the years. I'd like to thank my fellow Matthias. We've been working together for quite some years now. He's patient enough on the field, and is the finest cameraman I've been lucky enough to work with over the years. So if you want to have his number, I can definitely give it to you. And also, I'd like, finally, last but not least, my wife, my everything, and my 7-month-old daughter, who's kind enough to sleep. And so thank you, Simone, for that. And also, the guy who adopted me 32 years ago, and is now in the hospital. But, so I really think about him very strongly tonight. Jean-Marc, cette remise de prix est pour toi. Merci pour tout ce que tu as fait. Thank you.
I'm going to be quicker since I'm more used to be behind the cameras than in front of the cameras. Sony cameras, I guess. I'm really honored to receive this prize, Martin and I want to thank the Rory Peck organization's members for awarding us. I have a lot of respect to lots of freelancers that take risk daily and risk their own life on the front lines, especially on war conflicts areas that I don't dare going to. So I feel a lot of respect for you guys, so I wanted to say. And I dedicate this award to the activists that we met. Sonia, Stella, the doctor, the pediatric doctor Martin just mentioned. And I think if it can bring a louder echo to their action and their fight, it's useful. So thank you for them, and I want to thank my wife as well, and my our 4 kids that support me in my job, and she gives me the freedom to go on the field with Martin. Sometimes I feel I spend more time with Martin than my wife, so she's a bit jealous. But anyway, we try to make some good teamwork. So thank you for them, and thank you.
Congratulations to you both, and some wonderful PR work there, Martin, to Matthias. Though I should point out that as a result of tonight, his rate's probably gone up. brilliant and powerful film. So we welcome on stage, of course, our other Sony finalists, Matthew Castle and Rodrigo Vasquez.
Hi, thank you for the nomination. I'd like to pay homage to the Rory Peck Trust, really. 16 years ago, I was here nominated for the first time, and since then, I've witnessed how the Rory Peck Trust has helped so many people, so many filmmakers on the front line, as being instrumental in training people to prepare them for hostile environments. And I'd like to say that today, Latin America is on fire. I spent the last 5 days writing letters for filmmakers to film in Chile after the curfew to avoid illegal detention and torture. There are illegal detention torture centers in Chile right now. One of my friend's fingernails were pulled out 3 days ago. There are 5,000 people who are illegally detained in Chile. So what I filmed in Nicaragua is really bad. But what's happening right now in Latin America, not only in Chile, but in Ecuador, in Brazil, in Colombia, requires the effort of independent filmmakers to reflect and show what's going on there. And organizations like the Rory Peck Trust, there are not many like it, are more necessary now than ever. So please continue supporting the Rory Peck Trust and independent filmmaking. Thank you.
I'm the other guy. All of us in this category get free Sony cameras, right? Just want to make sure we're clear on that. Because I really do need a camera. So if you can send that over tomorrow, that'd be great. But no, it's an absolute honor to be here with everyone tonight. And to my freelance brothers and sisters, the latter of whom should be better represented on the stage tonight. Definitely. I know it's hard out there, but let's continue to support each other. I know we all hope to continue doing this work. And I just want to recognize a few people who were instrumental in making our series, The Missing. Firstly, Ariel Rubin, who was formerly with the International Committee of the Red Cross, with whom I conceptualized this project, and he supported it from start to finish. My editor, and the local staff of the International Committee of the Red Cross, who are also doing extremely important work of trying to locate missing migrants and reunite them with their families. Their work is commendable, and it was a pleasure to work with them on this, and they deserve our support. My editor on the series was Olivia Dez. She gave it that magic and that je ne sais quoi, and to Olivia I say merci. And NBC Left Field for publishing the series. If our job as journalists is to tell the truth, then there's a very basic truth that I think we need to highlight in our ongoing coverage of the migration issue. And that is that that throughout human existence, people have been on the move. And there are people out there who want to deny that. And too often they're going unchallenged in spreading their misinformation and demonization of migrants and refugees. And the best way to counter that is through reporting and filmmaking that shows the reality for people on the move, for migrants and refugees. And that's what we were trying to do in this series, and I totally forgot what I was going to say. But we all need to do more to ensure that families like the ones we filmed with in this series do not have to live with the torment of not knowing where their loved one is, the fate of their loved ones. And I hope we can. And thank you again to the Rory Peck Trust for recognizing all of us tonight and for your support. And congratulations to all my colleagues and congratulations to everyone here. I hope we continue the important work of journalism and telling people's stories around the world. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Stuart and Sony for sponsoring that award, and thank you so much to all of you for being part of such a much-needed and urgent celebration of the work that's being done out there. It has been a privilege for both Alex and I to be a part of this tonight. That is the end of the awards part of the evening. Many congratulations to all of the extraordinary winners and finalists. Thank you for sharing your work with us. Thank you for what you do. Thank you, of course, to the judges and to our sponsors, AP, Google, and Sony, without whom none of this would be possible, and maybe consider cameras for everyone next year. Just throwing that out there. It is now my pleasure to hand over to the director of the Rory Peck Trust, Clotilde Redford.